Hello everyone, I am Doodlemans86 and today I am going to review Godzilla Minus One. This movie released in November of 2023, but in the US it released in December 1st. I got to see it in at nighttime, no, not a lot of people in the theater, but that's okay. And this movie is 2 hours and 5 minutes, directed by Takashi Yamazaki. So as always, I will have this will be a spoiler-free section, the whole video. I'll have a spoiler section, and the images in this video have nothing to do with the movie. They're not recreating anything, so you don't have to worry about spoilers there either. And I do hope you like the photos I'm showing because I can't put any actual photos of the movie, and even if I had them, I'm not sure if I can. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say before we start. So spoiler free right now. Spoiler section will come up later and I will warn you guys ahead of time. So basically the movie follows Japan in a World War II setting, post World War II, and basically they've lost everything. Lots of people homeless, died, radiation, all these terrible things happening, and as the title suggests, Godzilla shows up and just makes everything worse. So in the state they're in at zero, it's worse, minus one, hence the name. So I have to say, the budget for this movie was $15 million, and I have to say, it looks incredible. It looks fantastic, sounds fantastic, looks fantastic. Everything about it is really well done. It looks really spectacular, and some shots just look so good. Like I can't call any shot that looked off to me or weird because it all looked good. And a lot of the film takes place in the day, so I think it's really impressive that they were able to get all these really good looking shots in. The CGI looks great and the acting is spectacular. Props to all the actors because they did a phenomenal job. So basically, we follow Koichi Shikishima. I hope I'm not butchering these names, who lives in Japan, and basically we follow him throughout the movie. And he has he has a family of his own throughout this movie, and he goes through the hero's journey, if you will, throughout it. And I think it's very well done. I really do like the characters because a lot of the complaints in monster movies are that the humans are boring or just not well written. And I have to say, in this film, they are really good. I like how some characters are serious, others are funny. You have that nice even breakout between these characters, so you don't get too much of one or the other. And I really do like that we get to follow each character and we get to see a little bit about them, even if they're not on screen for long. So I think that was really well done. And as for Godzilla himself, he looked really good. I can't help but just think about how the design looks on film because it looks really well done. It's really well incorporated into the film. Because one of the complaints a lot of people had at first was that this was just the ride design, but with a few alternate changes. And although I was slightly bummed out that it wasn't a new design, I wasn't really mad about it because it was a really good design. He struck gold with that. Why let it go to waste? Use it in this film, and he upgraded the design even better. So I do have to say that although it's technically not a new design, it really does look well. And I really do think that it looks good in the film, especially the shots we get of him. So I just thought that was really well done. And the messages and themes are also very clever. And I do like how our main protagonist connects to the themes of this movie. And I really am finding it hard to talk about this movie without spoilers or even think of any critiques I have of the movie except one. And it's not really too much of a critique. And maybe it's because I was like passing out because I am sick or something. And it's not a spoiler thing, if you would count it. But technically, in the trailers, we get that dialogue that says the monster will never forgive us. I'm not sure if it was in the movie because, again, this was at nighttime. I am sick. I'm not sure if maybe I missed it or something or if it actually wasn't in the film. And again, apologies if it was in the film and I just don't remember it. But I feel like it should have been in the film if it wasn't. Because I don't remember hearing it in the film at all. Again, it could just be me though. And it's not really a critique of the film, it's just a minor nitpick. And again, maybe it was in the movie and I just didn't hear it. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out. And Uh, Last things to note are the music is really good. I really did like the songs that were used. It's mostly an original soundtrack and it's really suspenseful, thrilling, you know. It really plays well into the scenes and is really well incorporated, so I really did enjoy that part. And honestly, this was a really good film. And now I have to talk about spoilers. It's impossible for me to talk about this movie without spoilers. So I'm sorry that the spoiler free isn't as long as the spoilers is, but I just have to talk about everything that happens in this film. So, of course, if you just wanted to watch spoiler free, you can jump to the conclusion and hear my final thoughts. But now, without further ado, let's get into the spoilers. So the film begins with our main character saying that his plane isn't working because he's a kamikaze pilot, and kamikaze pilots typically ran into ships, blowing themselves up in the process to, attack the enemies. So I don't want to say the S word just in case, but yeah, that's what kamikaze pilots are. And basically, he avoids his mission by pretending that the plane doesn't work, and he lands on a familiar island called Odo Island, which is the island Godzilla first appeared in 1954, which I thought was a really neat reference. So then at that moment, he sees like dead fish, I think it was dead fish showing up on the shore. And this is like a sign of something coming. And then later on in the night, they hear a thunderous roar that honestly sounds like a mix of Godzilla and some other monster. And basically they bring up this like myth or folklore about a monster called Godzilla, and that's basically how our main character learns of the kaiju's name. And out of nowhere, right? This happens out of nowhere. Godzilla comes out, roars, and he kills basically all the men on the island. He goes around stomping, throwing his tail, biting them, and throwing them around. And it was just like it took me out of the film. Like this is how we're beginning the film. Like we're immediately seeing Godzilla and in a state in which he is not mutated yet. So it's kind of like a reference to the Godzillasaurus from 1991. You know, it's kind of like him before he mutates. And I didn't think we'd get to see that. I thought we'd just like jump back to it, or if we did see him, it'd be like a flashback. But yeah, we get to see him in all his glory, and he's very aggressive. He's almost like a crazy animal, just attacking all these men. And this is where our character's journey begins as he is planning on killing Godzilla with a gun in the copter, which he has to run over and then shoot Godzilla. But then he hesitates to, and he is scared, and this results in all the men dying. He passes out. When he wakes up, there's only one other survivor with him who is, I believe, Tachiban, I think was his name. And he basically blames him, and then we jump back to our main character going back to Japan, and he finds out from his angry neighbor who's pissed off at him because instead of kamikazing himself, he decided not to, which resulted in basically an airstrike in a way he could have prevented. And her children are dead, his parents are dead, and possibly the lives of everyone who was there basically gone with a few exceptions. So this kind of starts his journey, you know, he's very guilty, and after having met Godzilla and hesitating to kill him, he just feels really bad about himself. And that's understandable, you know? He he can't forgive himself for what he has done, but he is looking for a way to forgive himself that he just doesn't know yet. So then after that, he runs into a woman with her baby, and both of their families died as well. And I have to say, these actors steal the show, especially these three, and especially the child. They steal the show. They're absolutely incredible, and they work so well with each other. And I feel like this film really does take advantage of the World War II setting. It does very good with the setting and how the government handles Godzilla, the conflicts arising, and basically the tension between everyone at that time. I think it's very well done. I think they did a really good job, especially with the state Japan is in. So I did want to point that out. This film takes place between like I think 1945 and the 1950s, and he gets a job blowing up mines, and the woman gets a job at Ginza, and it's blowing up mines that he, after a while, they see the dead fish like things, and we do get a scene in which a bomb explodes and we see Godzilla mutating. We get a close up of his eye, his skin starts deteriorating, it changes, he roars in pain, and it's a very excellent scene. I think that's very nice that they got to show us that, even if it was just a close up of his eye. I think it fit the movie. Very well done. And as we see the dead fish, our main character, remembers about Godzilla and he kind of like gets afraid. He tells the other men on the boat we meet. They're all friends at this point, so they can kind of trust each other, especially in the setting they're at. So when they hear about this, they're kind of afraid, you know? They realize that they were sent out there to the shipping vessel that they were set to look for so that they could distract Godzilla, you know, give them time. And it's at this point that they try to like fight Godzilla, and there are comedic moments in this movie that I think are pretty well done. You know, they're not laugh out loud in your face, so I think they are effective. And we see Godzilla for the first time in his movie appearance attacking the boat and then chasing after our main characters in the water. The way he slithers in the water and chasing our characters like a shark, I think is just excellent. And this sequence in particular is so good. Godzilla looks so good. He looks realistic. You know, he looks like he's actually there. It doesn't look fake. It looks really good. He looks beautiful. Shot for shot, just it almost makes me just want to get pictures of each part of that sequence and frame them on my wall. It's really, really good looking. And we do see this Godzilla's power as one of the mines is blown up inside his mouth, and he looks dead for a moment, but then his skin quickly regenerates, and then he's back awake. I don't think we've seen regeneration this fast on Godzilla since like Godzilla 2000. So I just thought that was like really crazy. But uh this is like a hint that although Godzilla has regenerative properties, he does take damage and he is affected by um, normal weaponry in a way. Because in that same sequence, some warships arrive and shoot at Godzilla, and he does react. Maybe not in pain. Maybe it's like the equivalent of like getting bumped by another person or pushed or something. But he does show a reaction to it, which I thought was really interesting. You know, he has that God in his name, but he's not entirely invincible. So I thought that was really interesting. And he attacks these warships. He goes on to punch them and uses atomic breath for the first time, but he does it underwater, so you don't exactly get to see the build up to that. And it does kind of show like a foreshadow as our main character watches this, because he will recall it later. So after that, we get some more family time, but then comes the inevitable in which Godzilla shows up on land. And oh my god, this sequence was beautiful. First up, I have to say the music is gorgeous, just beautiful. The original soundtracks are stunning and thrilling. And then, of course, we get Akira Fukube's original Godzilla 1954 theme. And the way it's shot, you see, you have her in the train looking at Godzilla approaching. It cuts to Godzilla in the middle of the city in daylight as Akira's theme plays. And it's just gorgeous. It's breathtaking. It's beautiful. And then the music transitions into Godzilla. There's this Mothra's theme. And when that happened, I swear to you all that my soul left my body. I am a huge Showa fan. I have clearly said that and shown it before. So when I heard like this mix between the two themes, I tell you, I floated out of my chair. And it's as Godzilla's destroying Ginza. So this just, ooh, the chills I got. It was just beautiful. And as always, his hatred for trains is shown when he bites it. And she's in the train and she falls out safely. And then they run away from Godzilla as he destroys more buildings. He's going around wrecking everything, you know? It's just, these are just gorgeous shots. The sun is yellow, the city is destroyed. Godzilla stands above it all. It's just beautiful. It looks very good. And the musics are used good, you know? They're not used as nostalgia bait. They're not trying to like fix a bad film. They clearly know what they're doing with the songs. So I gotta give props to the music department here. They did really good. And it's because every iteration of Godzilla has their own atomic breath, and we get to see minus one's atomic breath, and it is just jaw dropping, like just wow. So we have some tanks, I believe, in front of the diet building, and I actually wanted to talk about that too. So the government doesn't get involved with Godzilla because of conflict between the U.S., the Soviets. They're kind of afraid to, gear up against Godzilla because they fear that maybe the U.S. will see this as a threat, and so it's left up to the people to fight Godzilla. And so when these tanks show up, there's not that many of them. In fact, there's no airstrike, no air forces, and since this was in post World War II, they barely had anything. So I thought it was interesting to just like see them fight with barely nothing and then just never fight again because it does, it's actually shown that they can't do anything. So I thought that was really well done too. Subtle but noticeable. And so Godzilla is shot by these tanks. He comes out of the smoke like a titan, like from Attack on Titan. It's like straight up a shot from that. And then his atomic breath builds up. His spines stick out of his back from his tail to his head, glowing as it reaches to the top of his head. His neck starts to glow, his mouth starts to glow, and then he sucks in air. His spines retreat back into his body, and then he shoots out his atomic breath, a destructive, powerful ray of just pure light. He shoots it at nearby buildings, he blasts the tanks, and then as it blows up, it forms a mushroom cloud. The explosion, the shock waves send everyone back. And it's at this point where our main character is pushed into the alley or between the buildings. I don't know what it is. And her, alongside many other people, are pushed back and die. And then Godzilla roars in victory as the mushroom cloud begins to form, and we see it starts raining black amongst our main character, who is now crying and roaring. And I just thought this was just wow, because this monster that he had a chance to kill now just killed a bunch of other people in Ginza, and to just see Godzilla roar at the sky and he's just crying on the ground, that's just, ooh, that hits hard. And what hits even harder than that is the scene right after, when the little girl is explained that she died. The person looking after her died, and it's just gut wrenching how she cries, because in a lot of these Godzilla films, you kind of forget that there's people in these cities, these buildings that the monsters fight in. But here it's just amped up to 100, and when she starts crying, it's just wow. Like, that's actually terrible. That's horrible, gut wrenching too. That's just really tough. It really does make you hate Godzilla in this film, because she's not the only one who's lost someone, and she's not going to be the only one if he stays around. So the people come up with a plan to stop Godzilla. Basically, the second act of this whole movie, leading to the third, is in preparation for a final battle. The plan is basically to lure Godzilla to the deepest trenches in the water, and they're going to plunge him all the way down to the ground and hope the depressurization kills him. If not, they're going to bring him back up with little floaties, and hopefully he blows up by then. And they're going to have our main character basically move around in a jet and basically lure him out. So Koichi, he's not really hesitant to do this. He's very amped about this. It's his chance at vengeance. He failed to do his job before. He's going to do it now, and he's going to stop Godzilla. But they need a mechanic to work on the new plane that he's going to use. And that's when he thinks about Tachibana, and he tries to reach out to him, and he effectively does by pissing him off, basically. And when he does, he explains to him that he needs him to stop Godzilla. And so he agrees. They talk about the plane's settings, what to do during the whole thing. And then it cuts away to Godzilla showing up in near the ships. Because the plan was to lure him out there, but he showed up too early. He kind of screwed over the whole plan. And so that is when Koichi gets in the plane. He flies off, but one last time before saluting his comrades and looking at a picture of his family. And that's when he has a mid-air battle with Godzilla. And Godzilla's biting him, swinging his hands and tails. And he effectively pisses him off, and he brings him to the water to the point where they need him to be at. And that's when the ships coil around him. They set the traps in place, and then he's punched deep and fast into the water. And these shots underwater are very gorgeous too, might I add. And they let him stay down there for a bit, but it doesn't kill him, so they bring him back up. But halfway through, he cuts the cables and basically he stays down there for a moment. The water starts boiling. They don't know what to do because he is refusing to come up. And that's when a whole fleet of ships alongside support show up. You know, the people gathering, stronger in numbers. So it's a heroic opening. It's very nice to see everyone gathered together to stop a common enemy. It is pretty sweet. So they bring up Godzilla in the floaties, and there's this one shot of Godzilla underwater with the floaties around him, and it just looked like a tutu. It made me chuckle just seeing that. You have to see it for yourself. It's an image I never thought I'd see in a movie like this, but he makes it to the surface and he's all damaged, you know? Clearly it hurt him, but it didn't kill him. It physically affected him and he looks like a snow Godzilla with ice all over him. And he gathers up energy and gets ready to blast them all with the atomic breath. And the music cuts out and everyone's scrambling, but then they accept their fate and just watch as Godzilla points it at them. And it's a pretty sad moment because it kind of relates to real life. Like how, everyone would fight for their country, but then the moment they know they're going to die, they know they can't do anything. They just accept their fate. So I just thought this was really sad. But before Godzilla is able to kill them all, Koichi comes in with the plane. He gets ready, pops the bombs, goes into Godzilla's mouth, and basically blows his head up. And Godzilla crumbles away, falls back into the water, effectively defeated forever. But Koichi survived because there was an ejection seat. So in that scene before, when Tachiban is explaining how the plane works, what was cut out is that he made an ejection seat because he told them that he should live, not die. And I'll talk about this in a moment, but it's an interesting subversion of expectations, Because I thought going into this movie, the moment I saw that he was a kamikaze pilot, I knew he was going to sacrifice himself to stop Godzilla, but I didn't think he was going to live because, I thought they were going to go with a he dies for everyone to be happy ending, which I thought was also very interesting. But again, I'll talk about that in a moment once I'm done with the movie review. And basically, everyone's happy. They make it out alive. And he finds out that his wife, I guess if you want to call her, is alive. And he takes a little girl and they find Noriko in the hospital alive and they all hug. And I think it's a very well done scene because up to this point they don't really have a really cute moment together, but here after everything they've been through, they finally have a chance to just hug it out and I thought that was just very well done. Although we do get two last scenes and I'll talk about them right now. So we get a shot of her neck, and she has like something black on her neck that moves. I don't know what this is. I didn't really get a good chance to see it in the theater. So I'm not sure if it's radiation poisoning or poison or I don't know what it was, but I'm guessing she got affected by something. I don't know. And then we get a shot of a part of Godzilla quickly regenerating as it falls deep into the ocean, reminiscent of GMK's ending. And the movie ends with the theme song playing. What a beautiful film. This was just a gorgeous film. I really did love this Godzilla movie. It showed a lot of Godzilla, showed a lot of humans that we cared about. Its messages and themes blow you away, and everything is connected so well in this movie. It's so good. It's so well done. So earlier when I was talking about the kamikaze, so the thing is that this was kind of like, glorified back in the day when you were fighting for your country. You know how they would like say, oh, do this to protect your country, be a soldier, have honor. That was very popular back then. And when I saw it in this film, I thought he was going to kill himself to save everyone. But he made it out alive. And I thought that was just a really well done message. Because the thing is that he didn't do this before the start of the movie. He didn't kill himself to stop anything, really. And he didn't commit to the responsibility he had. And so when he's going into Godzilla, I feel like it's really just very well done how he decides not to die. He's kind of forgiven by Tachibana because he realizes that even though he got most of his comrades killed, he doesn't deserve to die because he has a life to live. You know, he's got a family to take care of. You do not have to die to be someone. You can have honor being yourself. So I thought that was a very good message. He's living for his family. He's not going to die this way. He's going to die not in fighting Godzilla or killing himself to stop him, but living a long and healthy life with his family and protecting them forever. And I just thought that was a really good message, because kamikazes, it is a very touchy subject. It's very serious. It has to be talked about with responsibility, but I just thought it was well done in this movie. Takashi didn't go over with it. I just thought it was very excellent. He did a very good job with it. And about Godzilla's design, I do have to say I love this design. It's like a combination of past eras, Heisei's head, GMK's feet, Showa spines, Millennium spikes, colors original. I just think it's very well done. And this message is more like the message of this movie is recovery, trauma, moving on from the past, build a brighter future. And so in this way, he doesn't necessarily recover from his trauma with Godzilla, but he does move on with his life. He did get a lot of people killed in not killing Godzilla, but that's in the past. You can't change that. So you have to look forward to build a brighter future. And you can start that by living a healthy life in which you help others. And I just think that's so clever. Like, this isn't a message that's brushed by or just said in a scene and then dropped later. This sticks throughout the whole movie. It's a part of the hero's journey. The character's progression, they change by the end of the movie. He is still traumatized, of course, but he moves on from that. He accepts what happened and becomes a different man. I just think that's so well done. That's very good. And basically, Godzilla is inevitable. So yeah, he's not basically dead if the last shot is to be interpreted that way. But that's because for as long as humanity pursues making dangerous weapons to remain in control of the world, Godzilla will return to punish humanity. And that's obviously something that's been said a lot of times before in past movies. Godzilla's just going to punish humanity if we keep doing what we're doing. And for good reason, too. We're making dangerous weapons meant to hurt each other. What kind of species does that? So I just think Godzilla, as a vengeful animal that will never forgive us for what we've done to him and possibly our own people, I just think is so clever. It's really good. It's kind of like the original movie, except the message is taken up to 100. It's all displayed here through the movie, characters, the monster, and the messaging and themes, and I just think it's very well done. So overall, I have to give this movie a million out of 10. Everything is so good about this movie. Now, I know a lot of people are going to change their minds over time, but usually me, I stick to my opinion until my mind is changed, which usually doesn't happen because first viewings are difficult to judge a movie, but afterwards you can form your own opinion after thinking about it. But me personally, I see the messages of this movie, I see the movie itself, the acting, the characters, the message that's being told, and it's just excellent. I really do vibe with it. It's very well done in a giant monster movie that's grounded in reality in post World War II. I just think it's really good. It's impossible to describe this movie. It's just shocking. It's so interesting to see this movie in theaters in America. A Japanese Godzilla movie. That's just, we live in a great time. And with Godzilla and Kong the New Empire coming out next year, it's like it's so beautiful to see two different interpretations of the same character coming out back to back. Overall, I really did enjoy this film and I recommend you go see it. Please support it because it is very good. It is very well done. And yeah, that's basically all I have to say. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.